Hi guys, I am going to present to you today, but not in front of you. I'm going to do it on here instead, and I'm just babbling a bit so the me that's with you in the classroom can get the sound right. So I'm hoping that she's sorted it now. Okay? So, a presentation we were asked to do on the 18th of December, mine was due. For me, this was a critical review. 2 journal articles that I am to study, comprehend and present to you. So matters arising with the following few, a summary or a brief overview on 2 articles that were peer reviewed. Are these articles useful to me and why? Right, I need to sit down and think about this over a cup of tea. I hope you don't mind my choice of presentation, but we were told it could be an informal preparation. So here I am, trying to be clever with words, in the hope that you have overheard a transferred meaning from me to you, a comprehension of my understanding, but I have to say the reading was quite demanding. It is here and now that I bring to you a short rendition of a critical review. So let me introduce to you the first article on my list. It's about universities widening participation through positive discrimination. I hope you get the gist. So, to give you a bit of background information on the term used above, positive discrimination, it's a policy in which members or minority groups are given preference over members of majority groups. This is essentially done in a bid to obtain equality and balance. So then, in the 2011, the OFFA published a white paper saying that its universities wanted to improve social mobility and boost participation of underrepresented groups within higher education. The main aim of this paper was to encourage everyone to apply, essentially opening the doors so they could all fly high. The ways in which this was done was by a number of things. Lowering entry grades, financial incentives, fee waivers to stop the big blockades, part-time programs of study and the provision of additional support helped those in need of getting a passport to education which they wouldn't ordinarily receive. However, all this special treatment could be looked upon as thieves. Thieves, I say? Well, yes, because they are taking something that doesn't belong to them, aren't they? This is where it gets meaty. Opinions and accusations fly. Some say only the best should pass the test. Go forth and fly high. Cool. Others say that giving these underrepresented groups a pedestal are inevitably setting up opportunities of negative discrimination. Let us make this clearer then. So, 5 members of underrepresented females from a lower class background applied for 5 places on a university course but didn't have the normal expected qualifications and was accepted onto the course because they fell under this new policy, as opposed to a group of 5 females from an upper class background who all have the expected qualifications and have shown that they deserve a place through merit. Would this be discriminated towards these 5 upper class students then? Some say that university places should be given to those who have the most potential. This could be someone from that series Shameless or right through to that sitcom Absolutely Fabulous. There is much more to discuss about this critical review. However, I'm only meant to give you a brief overview. So, I'll continue with telling you that the writer Clayton makes a few more points verbatim. Positive discrimination can have adverse effects. It lowers self-esteem because it highlights the student's defects. These underlying issues are at many times lost. Policymakers are only concerned with looking good, and the real problems are blurred over, left out in the frost. Clayton goes on to talk about the best qualified candidate principle. It takes a while to get in your head, but after 100 times reading it, you eventually can hear what is said. So before moving on to the next, let me just finish with this note. Clayton makes a few more points. Let me tell you what he wrote. He spoke about employability and also linked it in with sport. He used various ways of describing exactly what he thought. Those who are highly qualified for the job could start next week, but probably turn out to be a slob. They could lack in motivation with no will to strive. Therefore, it would make us wonder, why, oh why, didn't we give the underrepresented a test drive? Surely they would have motivation within them to succeed. They are already underestimated, so all we need to do is plant the seed. People should be judged on their talents alone. This special treatment should be fairly measured out. It shouldn't be all one-sided. It will cause people to freak out. Okay, so maybe freak out is a dramatic word to use, but if all this carries on, what incentive is there to infuse? Just because they are upper class doesn't mean they are more academically able. We should expect the unexpected, giving chances to the underrepresented. Clayton also says that universities wonder how to portray themselves. Should they be pro-diversity and provide accessibility for all, or should they go down the academic route and be known for their high-achieving students who stand so tall? The meritocratic way say that only the best qualified should get the job. It shouldn't matter about their class, their gender, their background, or even if others see them as a snob. Here is another reference to sport, this time in a race. Why should those who won be given second place? Would we give runner-up gold? No, of course not. So why the attempt of positive discrimination? Are we being sold? So we do a 360 back around to negative discrimination. Surely these policy people can see that pushing out those high achievers are discriminated to a certain degree. But then there is another valid point to be heard. Should students be judged on their past potential or in the here and now, when what they currently do is surely more influential? Gosh, there is so much more to say. Am I running out of time yet? I need another day. I couldn't help but notice, but Bourdieu springs to mind. The more cultural capital we have, the more power we have on mankind. It's okay to admire those who have it all, those who have ability and those who stand so tall. But is positive discrimination really the way to fix everything? Perhaps someone does need to change it up a bit, but maybe another song we should sing. So to conclude the first part of this presentation, it really is a case of negative positive discrimination. There is so much to take in, to analyse, to evaluate. Is this going to be useful for my practice? Yeah, it will be great. Have I ate? Am I losing weight? The amount of time I spend at this computer, I probably will at this rate. Has it taught me anything that I didn't already know? Yeah, of course it has. I'm not that brainy, you know. I'll move on now to the next article. Fitting in or standing out seems to be the next bag of baffle. Oops, was I allowed to say that? Sorry, Alison. It just came out. Here we go then, let's delve into this big bag of sprouts. This won't take me as long to explain. For one, I'm running out of time, and two, this wasn't so heavy on the brain. To summarise then, it focused on undergrads, aged 18 from different background, they adds. Both white and minority groups, female and male, they talk about the students' educational trail. It described how the middle class, the riches, who are predominantly white, sometimes apply to unis just to be kept out of sight. Out of sight and out of mind is how some students like to be known. They don't want to stand out or appear to be a clone. Apparently, the traditional students are from richer families and are expected to go through school and college knowing that this will give them a good life with a lot more ease. This confidence is embedded into them from a very early age, so by the time they reach 18, anywhere can be their front page. These students will do well and inevitably always aim high, but for the untraditional students, all they can do is let out a big sigh. Their situation is exactly the opposite. Their family is uneducated and haven't instilled in them the confidence to succeed. They are not encouraged but want so badly to fit in. They want to be acknowledged and feel worthy within. The article discusses 4 areas of attention: Southern, Midlands, Northern, Eastern, but funnily not Western. These areas are discussed in the light of the best. It is also known as the Russell Group, the Harvards and the Yales of the US. According to the article, Southern is seen to have the best set of universities. However, until this year, that is when Huddersfield University had its conquest. Students from the North and Eastern don't seem to apply to Southern universities as much. They just don't feel that they are good enough. This is due to various reasons. They come from working class backgrounds, or they feel their ethnicity is a problem. Family commitments, money issues too. They fear they won't fit in. They feel undervalued. They end up studying at their local university, so they feel comfortable and capable of achieving. But this, of course, inhibits them, makes them stand out even more. These are students with high ability who are capable of so much more. They deserve to be educated wherever they choose. They have the knowledge, skills and values, but still they don't want to be the class geek and made out to feel like the course freak. They just want the best education available. They shouldn't be made to feel unacceptable. The Midlands are sort of in the middle, at 50%. Everything we just discussed applies, but to a lesser extent. So we swiftly move on to the Southern area, where students stay because they don't have this dilemma. Southern universities are looked upon as most elite, the athletes, the ones to beat, the ones who people talk about on the street. They are seen as more academic and having the best staff, the best resources in the UK. Here mate, let me get your autograph. Why are they expected to do the best? Is it because they have more money than the rest? Bojo again is mentioned here. Habitus and status. But we are the best uni this year. So to conclude this article, it is important to note that the rewards and recognition of being a university student is something of ambition. Students want to fit in whatever their class. These students don't want to stand out, but succeed, not be known for bumming around. Fitting in has its hazards, particularly for Eastern and Northern students. While standing out is seen as sad and nerdy and is clearly uncomfortable, fitting in can be problematic, makes you feel unworthy. But at the same time, it is important to recognise that a small number of working class students attend the elite universities but perhaps don't fit in size. The size of ticking all the right boxes, being able to please all the big teacher bosses, carrying out a considerable amount of work, and if they are very, very lucky, go out on a Saturday night and learn how to twerk. So this brings me to the end of my presentation. The conclusion, the ending, the close, the termination. How are these articles important to my practice? And why have I chosen these articles to present to you? Well, if you give me a few more moments, I'll give you a preview. I'm extremely interested in the studies of HE, what's being done to provide more accessibility. The arguments raised in both papers bring out a better understanding for me. So when working in a lifelong learning sector, I will find it most definitely helpful in understanding the experiences of students from all backgrounds and walks of life, getting into HE and climbing the ladder of strife. I relate to these studies pretty well. I would class myself as falling into the underrepresented as well. But for now, I'm going, so peace out, farewell. One more thing, if you have any questions, don't ask me, ask the other me. That's if you're still awake and are not bored of me. I'm out.